third grade friends. It's Mrs. Brown again, and I've got a new book for us today. This book is called The Slackers Out and About, and here is the Slacker family. The Slacker family is very silly, and they always do funny things. And here's the members of the Slacker family. There's Quentin, Violet, Slug the dog, Mrs. Slacker, and Mr. Slacker. And today's book, The Slackers Out and About, has 3 different short stories. So this book has a table of contents, not like the ones we see in a nonfiction text. It's kind of like what you see at the beginning of a chapter book, where it tells you the different stories and what page we can find them on. So the Slackers are going to have 3 different adventures today. There's going to be one called No School, one called The Lost Car, and one called The Vacation. Let's take a look at some of these stories. In No School, Quentin and Violet do not want to go to school. I tell you what, I don't agree with them at all. I would do anything if we could go back to school and be together. And they're going to try and trick their parents. First they try to hide. I don't think that works. Then they pretend to be sick and feel queasy to their tummy. On the next story, The Lost Car, they want to go on a family picnic. And guess what? Mr. Slacker can't find the car. So they enlist the help of their neighbors, the Zippies, who are very organized, to find the car right away so they can get on their picnic. The third story, The Vacation, the Slackers decide they want to go to Hawaii on vacation. So to prepare themselves and to learn more about Hawaii, they watch a police show on TV that is filmed in Hawaii, and they find out that people in Hawaii like to go snorkeling and do other fun things, so they're going to try and practice those. Let's go back and read the 3 short stories about the Slacker family and the Slackers Out and About. No School. One morning, Quentin Slacker decided he did not want to go to school. He told his sister Violet, "Let's stay home and watch Return of the Mummy Bride of Swamp Thing on TV," he suggested. "Brilliant idea," Violet whispered. "But how can we manage to stay home?" First, Quentin tried hiding under the bed, but that didn't work. His puppy's not helping him out very much, is he? Then he dressed up like a palm tree, but Mrs. Slacker spotted him right away. "Do you want some cereal, dear?" she asked. Finally, Violet took over. She clutched her stomach and stuck out her tongue just a little. Oh, she said. "I feel miserable. My tummy is queasy and my head feels full of rocks. I'm so sick." And she kicked Quentin's shin. "Oh," he said, "me too." "My poor babies," the lovely Mrs. Slacker cried. "I'm so sorry you feel sick. But don't you worry, there is a nurse at school. She'll know just what to do." And she handed them their lunches. "You better hurry," she said. Looks like their plan didn't work, huh, kids? Quentin and Violet trudged to the bus stop. The school bus was late, very late. Violet and Quentin waited. They ate their peanut butter and popcorn sandwiches. They took a nap, but still the bus didn't come. When a car rolled by with a giant chicken on the roof, Quentin stood up. "I'm hungry," he said. "Let's go home." I wonder why the bus didn't come. Back at the Slacker house, Mrs. Slacker was working on her latest craft project. She was making a picture of the Mona Lisa out of macaroni bits and gumdrops. "How was school?" she asked. "We never got there," Violet told her. Mrs. Slacker frowned. "But school is important. You have to go, darlings. Otherwise, what will the teachers do all day?" That made sense. "Well, not to worry, but you absolutely must go to school tomorrow," Mrs. Slacker said. "I'll help you remember. I will write it on the calendar." There's the calendar. Oh my goodness. if this is tomorrow, don't forget to go to school, and tomorrow for them is Sunday. That means their today is Saturday. Why do you think the bus wasn't there? We don't go to school on Saturdays. And indeed, she did. Oh, those slackers. The lost car. One fine morning, Mr. Slacker announced that it was a perfect day for a picnic. Violet made relaxing times iced tea. Mrs. Slacker packed popcorn. Quentin watched the cooking channel to get recipes, but he fell asleep before he could try any of them. When the picnic was ready, Mr. Slacker called Slug and everyone marched out the front door. "Where's the car?" Mrs. Slacker asked. Mr. Slacker looked at the empty street. "I don't know," he said. He held up his finger and gazed at his super-duper memory twanger. "I can't remember where I parked it," he admitted. "Did you leave it around the corner?" asked Mrs. Slacker. "I don't believe so," Mr. Slacker replied. "I'm sure I brought it home the last time I used it. Or did I come home on the bus?" "Maybe it's in the backyard," suggested Violet. But the car wasn't there. Slug barked frantically, but as usual, no one listened to him. "Oh, do be quiet, Slug. I can't think with all that racket," said Mr. Slacker. Let's ask our neighbors, the Zippy, if they've seen our car," said Mrs. Slacker. The Zippies organized a search right away. They searched the street, the neighborhood, and then the whole city. "I'm sure Mr. Zippy will find it," said Mr. Slacker. "He's very efficient." Mrs. Slacker was thinking very hard. "Perhaps we should make space in the garage for our car," she said. "We can park it in there after the Zippies find it." "Brilliant idea," said Mr. Slacker. The whole family gathered to take a few things out of the garage. "This is smart," said Violet. "The next time we forget where we parked the car, we'll remember where we forgot it." "And we'll never lose our car again," Quentin declared. And indeed, they didn't. Because what was in the garage behind all that stuff? The car. Because where do you put a car? In the garage. Oh, those slackers. The vacation. Quentin Slacker was bored. "Let's go on a vacation this summer," he said. "Brilliant idea," said Mr. Slacker. "But where shall we go?" The lovely Mrs. Slacker raised her hand. "What about Hawaii?" she suggested. "I've always wanted to go there." "Oh, yes," cried Violet. "I've always wanted a hula skirt." "What does Hawaii have for me?" Quentin asked. "Pineapples," said Violet. "I've always wanted a pineapple," said Quentin. "We have to go." "Does Hawaii have easy chairs?" asked Mr. Slacker. "Oh, yes," Mrs. Slacker said. "And hammocks?" Mr. Slacker asked. "Hammocks are very important." Mrs. Slacker nodded. "Then it's decided," Mr. Slacker declared. "We're going to Hawaii." There was a lot to do to prepare for the trip. The Slackers wanted to learn all they could about Hawaii before they set out. So, of course, they rushed to turn on the television. Slug found a police show that took place in Hawaii. Violet took notes. They learned that Hawaii is an island. They learned that people in Hawaii snorkel and watch fish swimming under the water. They also learned that crime does not pay. Good lesson. Then Quentin and Violet practiced lying on the beach while Mr. and Mrs. Slacker worked on watching sunsets. "It's important to be prepared if you really want to enjoy a trip," Mrs. Slacker noted. After that, the whole family practiced snorkeling. Oh my goodness, in the bathtub. "See anything interesting, son?" Mr. Slacker asked. "Glug, glug," Quentin answered. Next, of course, all the Slackers had to pack. "That's easy," said Violet. "All we need is our bathing suits and an emergency supply of popcorn." Finally, the big day arrived. All the Slackers lined up on the porch, ready to leave for the airport. That's when Mr. Slacker remembered something. "Uh-oh," he said. "Yes, dear? What is it?" Mrs. Slacker asked. "In all the hustle and bustle, I forgot to buy plane tickets," said Mr. Slacker. Quentin dropped his suitcase. "Now I'll never get a pineapple," he complained. "Don't worry, son," Mr. Slacker said. "I won't give up. We'll figure out a way to get to Hawaii." And indeed, they did. Oh my goodness. There's boxes, but no people. And the boxes say Hawaii or bust and got pineapple. They're gonna try and mail themselves, those crazy slackers. Oh! All right, boys and girls, here's my challenge for you this week if you want to do it. I want you to write another crazy, wacky story about those slackers and something funny they could do. And you can email it to me at jbrown@pretzelpride.com. I miss you like crazy, and I'll be back next week with another story. Bye!